The throne room of Cinderclaw Station stretched before Daniel like a cathedral made of obsidian and starlight. Massive pillars carved from asteroid rock rose toward a ceiling that displayed the swirling nebula beyond, while rivers of molten metal traced decorative patterns along the walls, a reminder that the Draconis species had evolved in the hearts of volcanic worlds. Daniel stood in the center of it all, feeling remarkably small in his simple Earth Alliance uniform. Around him, 7 Draconis females formed a semicircle, each one a magnificent specimen of their species. They stood nearly 9 feet tall, with iridescent scales that shifted between ruby, emerald, and sapphire depending on the light. Their wings, folded against their backs, occasionally wrestled with anticipation. Human Daniel rumbled over Lord Pirithos from his elevated throne, smoke curling from his nostrils. "You have brokered peace between our empire and your alliance. As is our custom, you may choose one of my daughters as your bonded companion. This honor has never been extended to an alien species before." Daniel swallowed hard. The diplomatic briefing had mentioned nothing about this. The 7 dragon women stared at him with golden, reptilian eyes, some curious, some disdainful, others calculating. They were warriors, scholars, and nobles. Choosing wrong could restart the very war he just helped end. His eyes moved across the line. 6 of the sisters stood tall and proud, their scales gleaming, their forms athletic and imposing. They radiated power and confidence, their bodies honed for combat and leadership. Then there was the 7th. Anna, they'd called her in the translation. She stood at the end of the line, and unlike her sisters, she was different. Where they were sleek, she was fuller. Her scales were no less brilliant, but they covered a body that was undeniably rounder, softer. Her wings seemed a bit smaller in proportion, and while her sisters held their chins high, Anna looked almost embarrassed, her golden eyes flickering between defiance and resignation. The other sisters had clearly written her off as the reject of the group. Daniel's mind raced. In the year he'd spent negotiating with the Draconis, he'd learned one crucial thing about their culture. They valued strength above all else. But Daniel had also learned something else. The Draconis were colonizers who conquered world after world, stripping them of resources before moving on. They'd never learned to cultivate, to build sustainably, because they'd never needed to cook. Their biology allowed them to consume raw matter, metals, minerals, even plasma. But actual cuisine, the art of transforming ingredients into something greater than the sum of their parts, that was foreign to them. And if there was one thing that separated humanity from every other species they'd encountered, it wasn't superior weapons or faster ships. It was culture. It was art. It was the ability to take scraps and make them into something beautiful. His grandmother had taught him that. In her kitchen in Mumbai, while making miracles out of modest ingredients, Daniel stepped forward and bowed deeply. "I choose Anna." The throne room erupted in hisses and shocked rumbles. The 6 other sisters looked insulted, confused. Overlord Pirithos leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You choose the smallest, the weakest." Anna herself looked stunned, her mouth slightly open. Daniel straightened, meeting the Overlord's gaze. "With respect, Overlord, I choose the wisest. Explain yourself." "Human, your daughters are magnificent warriors," Daniel said carefully. "Any of them could likely tear me apart. But I noticed something during our negotiations. While we discussed trade agreements, I saw Anna examining the food our delegation brought, not to mock it, but with genuine curiosity. I saw her watching our chef prepare meals with fascination." He turned to Anna, whose eyes had widened. "The Draconis Empire is powerful, but it consumes everything in its path. Humanity survives, not through pure strength, but through creativity and resourcefulness. We transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and I believe Anna understands this better than anyone else in this room." Anna's scales flushed a deep copper embarrassment or pleasure. Daniel couldn't tell. "You choose her because she is interested in cooking." Pirithos sounded incredulous. "I choose her because she has the wisdom to appreciate something beyond conquest," Daniel replied. "Because if our peoples are to truly be at peace, we need more than warriors. We need those who can build, create, and yes, nourish. The overlord was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he laughed a sound like boulders rolling down a mountain. The human sees what we did not. Very well. Anna, do you accept this bonding? All eyes turned to her. Anna looked at Daniel, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. Her chin lifted, and for the first time since he'd entered the room, she stood as tall as her sisters. I accept. 3 months later, the joint Draconis human station that Daniel and Anna co-managed had become legendary for an unexpected reason. The commissary that Anna had designed served fusion cuisine that had diplomats from 17 species requesting transfers. Just to eat their. Daniel watched from the kitchen doorway as Anna demonstrated proper knife technique to a class of young Draconis, her claws delicately slicing vegetables with precision that would make a master chef weep. She'd lost some weight with all the activity, but more importantly, she'd gained something far more valuable: confidence and purpose. You know, she said without looking up, her enhanced senses detecting him easily, when you chose me, my sisters thought you were mocking our family, and now, Anna smiled, her fangs gleaming, now they're jealous? Apparently, the mate who chose me for my mind instead of my combat prowess is considered quite the catch. Daniel laughed. Entering the kitchen to help with prep work, your father asked me why I really chose you. What did you tell him? The truth, that any fool can appreciate strength, but it takes wisdom to recognize potential. He paused, adding quietly, and that I wanted someone who'd value me for the same reasons I valued her. Anna's scales flushed that copper color again, but this time, Daniel knew what it meant. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization wasn't military might or technological superiority. It was the simple understanding that worth comes in many forms, and sometimes the greatest strength lies not in what one can destroy, but in what one can create. And really good food didn't hurt either.